Well, hello everyone. It's payroll season. I know it's not even Thanksgiving yet. I'm really getting ahead of the game for 2023. But I want to and I need to because some things were brought to my attention in the payroll in Excel and payroll in Google Sheets packages that I have created for many different businesses all across the country. And I've decided that it's a great idea to kind of sell a subscription to this in the Google Sheet for everyone who wants to monitor their own small business's payroll and take control of it in the simplest way possible. And I'm choosing Google Sheets, even though it's not as powerful as Excel, because it's openly accessible to everyone and no one has to pay for a subscription to use a Google Sheet. And you can use it on your phone easier in a lot of ways. Like there's just a lot of reasons why I want to make the main template version here, the one that everybody subscribes to and that we keep really current with current law is going to be in the Google Sheet. And of course, I will build Excel files for those who subscribed and purchased copies from me for the business for years in Excel. I'll obviously create those for you, but that's supplemental cost and that's not part of the subscription. This is for people who want a current look into the payroll of their business in whatever their state is and whatever their local situation is for the most part, and anything else they want added in here. Because this is a really phenomenal resource for you if you want to run your own small business and you want no hassles and you want your reports and your pay stubs to look however you want. If you want to put pictures on them or do anything you want, you totally have the flexibility to do that in this file, to print checks on a paper like this, to go and check your reporting to see what all your quarterly reports look like. You just choose quarter and everything changes. And this is your 941 that you file. And whatever state you're in, you file. And I'm in the process right now of updating all those for the new year and going through this huge database of formulas that I've created over the years to organize all potential types of tax data that any small business might really use. And of course, it can't be fully awesome and inclusive of everything that could potentially ever happen. But I've built it in a modular fashion. So whenever one of those unexpected things arises, or a different type of income classification class is identified, for example, in the publication 15 for 2023, which is what we are looking at right now in draft status, is not final yet, but at least the IRS is on top of it. Biden doing better than Trump did, getting this stuff out on time. Say that. And so you're at least getting looks at what items are taxable and what are not in the publication 15, otherwise known as the circular a long time ago. So this thing gets programmed into all of this. There's all different places for things, as well as every single state. Every single state has its own tax system and its own way of filing. Now, this is incredible. Like this is like a huge project. You would think that a huge company that does this for any of your payroll providers have a similar type idea in their system that creates stuff. They don't build it all into a Google Sheet or an Excel file because it's too much usually, and it is too much for very large companies. And the Google Sheet here can only really handle I would say less than 100 in here, or it's just going to start to blow up with formulas, especially depending on how many states you have. So what I've built here is I've built one that's a 50 state, 50 person version, right? So let's talk about a state, and I'm just going to choose a random state and show you how everything changes and how dynamic this thing is. And then you can decide if you want to subscribe for, I'll do a quarterly subscription and then maybe a monthly after that. But I want to keep it like under $100. So you can get access to this and realize that you can ask me questions and trim this enormous file down that has all 50 states to do one thing. For example, let's say I'm starting a business in Colorado, right? And I don't know what to do. And I'm going to have employees in Colorado and I got to register with Colorado and I got to figure out well, guess what? What does Colorado ask for? What do I do? This is how awesome this file is. This is how quickly you could start to see what your situation is and simulate income situations and cash flow scenarios and paychecks to people. So you got your person's name. Did they fill out a current year W-4? Are they married? What state are they in? They're in Colorado. And for the purposes of this, we will assume that we have no other employees. Okay. So I'm going to hide all the other employee slots. So we have a lot less to look at, and you start to see how much is really in here and what you can do. Does this person have one job? This is a column that is not used for Colorado, so you actually don't have anything to put there. Are there local taxes in Colorado? We could scroll through this master list to see, but I don't think there are. I don't think there's generally a local tax in Colorado. So there's nothing there for that. Other stuff that's over here, Arizona, Connecticut stuff, because you're in Colorado, you don't need to see any of this. It's all for different states. So you can hide these things. Hide columns, or even delete them from your final file if you're adjusting this file for your own state, and remove their formula references in a different part of this, and have an even smaller version of your Google Sheet that is much more functional. All right, this is where you're answering questions about the filing status in Colorado. Are there Colorado filing statuses? Here, it's Colorado single or Colorado married. I've prefaced every state filing status with its state name to prevent any confusion about filing statuses for different states. It's not a dependent validation here. It's easier to do it in the Google Sheet formula, and quicker for browsing to just do it this way. Because as you're entering in filing statuses for employees, you'll start to realize it's a thing you do once, one time. Like you'll get it right. However far you have to scroll this one time, fine, you'll scroll, you'll get it. But anyway, so then there's a lot of cool things I did to condense, all 50 states into one Google Sheet. It works. It's pretty awesome. So, all right, filing status, other income, deductions, dependents, anything would go there. It's $2,000. It was $2,000 per dependent, but that may change in the next year, and we will know when we see a final version, because I do not think that it is in the that it is in here yet. But I haven't read the draft completely yet, because that's what I'm doing. This video is about me doing work on this. And so anyway, so you put all the stuff in here, then you have another interesting thing going on, which is you've got a Colorado area for unemployment. And that's an amount of money that you pay. They're going to send you a rate in the mail if your business pays unemployment. And they're going to be like, you have an unemployment rate of this, and you have to withhold, or sorry, not withhold, but you have to pay tax on your employees' wages when their gross wages reach a certain maximum as listed by the Colorado. These things all are going to update. This is another thing I'm working on here in November and December as states announce what their 2023 UI wage bases are. And we get all this in here. And you can see that the change in UI base is something that I had from 2021 to 2022. This will now change, and we'll get a look at all the different states and how they change their UI bases from 2022 to 2023 as we look at this in here, which will be interesting to look at. Point is Colorado, taxes the first 17,000 in wages as unemployment that the employer has to pay. All right. So that's that. Now it gets a lot easier and quicker from here. You go to your daily entry, you put the days, which will all be 2023 for next year, the hours the person works. You can enter it many different ways. Doesn't matter if they're working holiday hours, if they're using PTO hours, if they're working on a specific project, all kinds of things you can do in here. But it's just basically just you choose the name, person, type the day, type the hour type. Okay. Matrix is designed so you can change this payroll file to be anything from a weekly payer to a biweekly payer to a semi-monthly payer, and to totally adjust how the pay dates work so that they conform to however you do them. I chose a weekly of 52 pay periods because it's the largest, and I like to test the largest possibility to see how big the file actually has to be, depending on the number of employees that you have. There's pay stubs. They're going to pop out. You're just literally going to click the day, right? You're going to click the pay date. You're going to click the person from the person list. All your employees will be there, and you get the paycheck. There's a lot of things that apply to other states like Oregon and California and different states that we can just delete right off this pay stub for your own personal version. You can shrink this down totally to just what you want, right? Like it totally just what you want. And then you have your pay period record sheet where all the massive craziness happens, and you enter in the information about the paycheck, like right here. Like, what's the person's hourly rate? Do you want to filter by pay period ending so that you just want to look at, pay period 1/6, January 6th of 2022. You get to see all your employees, whatever they were, if we had more employees, right? we got an M2 persona, whatever, you'll start to see that that person will then show up here as someone's paycheck that you could put an hourly rate in for. And any garnishments, child support, like reimbursements that you're getting from the company. If you want to identify a check number to this paycheck, you can put it here. Do you have a 401k plan that employee, diverts money to? Is there employee health insurance deduction or employer health insurance deduction, depending on who pays? All these things are listed out here so that we've able to kind of adjust what is available here in the publication 15 and the table that they've provided us here to convert that into some reasonable questions that you ask in this Google sheet, and that you identify what type of withholding it is so that it makes it exempt from the proper wage base. Because certain money will be taxed. They say there's pre-tax and post-tax money. Well, the complicated answer is that there's all types of different money. Sometimes it says exempt, or exempt taxable, or withhold taxable. Those are related to whether you pay income tax on it, like federal income tax, whether you pay Social Security and Medicare wages, which Social Security, I'm imagining there has not been a change to Social Security rates because there hasn't been forever. So I didn't hear anything about that. So I don't think that they're changing the wage base for Social Security from that the employer pays. But we're going to find out. We're going to find out. And as we look through all this, I'm going to get this thing completely rolling well before 2023 starts in most instances, wherever there are rates that are available. And that will happen quite soon. Not completely, but we'll certainly get a heads up. And also, I've been doing this so long that I know where the problem areas are. Like, so I've already built out. This is why I can handle a really, really big project like this and probably get it 99% right. And of course, we make adjustments when we find errors, and that makes it right. So somebody who digs in and runs a comparison and finds an error and really finds something, I fix it. And there's fixing going on. That's how we make it better. But I've already prepared how the federal tax is calculated. As you can see it here, it's the stuff in brown. It's these columns, like there's old W-2 and new W-2. There's like 3, 6, 9, 12. There's a lot of subtotals you have to kind of create to make sure that you're applying the proper wage base to the tax. And then there's so many different statuses on the new W-4, as we call it, which is just a current year W-4, 2022, or whatever year they're going to put on it, but it's post 2020. There was a really old W-4 that just asked you simple questions and gave you simple withholding amounts. That's this one right here. And when someone has chosen the old W-4, they just put like an allowance number here, and that's all they do. And it's different than all these questions that were on the new W-4, which is what you should be filling out. And I almost want to make it mandatory. I almost want to not support the old W-4 anymore because it's ridiculous. It's prior to 2020. It doesn't do as accurate of a job of predicting your withholding amount because it's not as inclusive in its questionnaire. And so it's like, why are we still living in 2020? Like 2020 was a crappy year, COVID, right? COVID-19 happened all 2020. Why are we remembering 2020? It makes me want to remove it. However, I know business owners and I know people who've been doing stuff the same thing their entire life. And as soon as they say, oh, we got to make every employee fill out a new W-4, supposedly, that's all hell in HR. I get it. And it makes me laugh. So I leave it in here because also they leave it in the actual 15T, which will also be coming out, which I don't think is out yet. 15T will have specific rates and numbers, and they will discuss probably supporting old W-4, although I hope that they remove it, but I don't think they will. I think they'll leave it in there. Anyway, so all that being said, our Colorado employee, how much is that person? If you pay that person $2,800 a week, they will owe $120 in Colorado tax under the status I had. They'll owe $175 in Social Security. They'll owe $41 in Medicare. And this is what their net paycheck will be. That's probably correct. It has to do with the number of jobs that they have. That's the main question. But there's other different states that do different things. And if you were not in there and you were in California instead, you'd see that this would take a second to process, but the titles here are going to change, and it's going to ask you California related questions. Yep, number of D4 allowances, and it's going to also ask you a California status. California single. Sounds fun, right? So that is the crux of what you're subscribing to, and I'm ready to put the subscription out to this file right now because it's got 2022 rates in it, but it is now a daily project because I have a goal of getting this thing to be so fluid and functional and easy to use and have everything that any question anybody asks me about how to do payroll that's of reason has already been addressed and programmed into the file. And if it isn't, I'll discuss whether or not I can do it, right? Because the answer is, if it's related to numbers of withholding, then of course it can be converted into algebra. Of course you could do it, right? You just have to be compliant with what the most current language and published tax rates and stuff are. And people get stuff in the mail, notifications about things, and you'll just pass them forward to me and we'll address them in the file. And these things are so easy to access and make copies of and change the number of employees. I'll show you how to extend this to get this to be as big as you need it to be, and also to remove all the things you would never use or states you would never want to use, and totally hide stuff and make it really easy to use. So if you see it for greater than the sum of its parts, which it really is right now, then certainly subscribe and consider it. And I will get to work on it because I want to make this thing like 25 bucks a month, something, really, really cheap, that when you're running a business, you just plop your information in here. If you need to simulate prior year's tax records for audits and stuff like that, like this is awesome for doing that. And I'll explain why, and I'll continue to do video series about this because I had previously done a video about every single state. And while I don't think that there's necessarily an advantage to doing that this year, unless there are significant changes in the state, then it will be worth it. And a lot of times there will be. So you'll probably see me doing videos about specific states, but in general, I want to do videos about how you take this file and make it specific for your business and be comfortable with it and use it to its capabilities and keep yourself calm, and also give yourself a view of your business and your finances in a way that's just easy to digest. Because it can be done with pivot tables as well when you table all this information. So that's my update for payroll, guys, and you'll be seeing more videos. And if you have a small business and are interested in this, then follow the link and get on board and get access and start making copies of this yourself. All right, good luck. Payroll should be easy. We're making it so.